Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our next meeting about the very exciting Western Canalscape project that we are planning to construct in your neighborhood, in your area. So thank you for attending our virtual public meeting. We appreciate your patience and your time tonight. If you would prefer to listen to this meeting in Spanish, we do have a Spanish language line, and I'm going to flash that up on, or Chris will flash that up on the screen in just a moment. It looks like our presentation is about to load. So as I mentioned, we do have a Spanish listen line for this particular meeting, and I'd like to introduce Mr. Albert Granillo, who will be our simultaneous interpreter for this evening. Albert, if you could please introduce the Spanish language line. I will also copy the information into the chat box. Go ahead, Albert. Albert, can you hear us? It looks like Albert is frozen and I'm not seeing him moving, so there may be some bandwidth issues. Now it looks like he's back. Albert, can you please introduce the Spanish language line for us? Okay. Moving on, we have the Spanish language line in the chat box on the right side of your screen. You should see some controls for WebEx that indicate with a little speech bubble chat. And if you open that up, you'll be able to see our Spanish language line and also see the phone numbers in there. It looks like Albert is having difficulty hearing anyone. Is anybody else having difficulty hearing? Can I just get a thumbs up from the panel if you can hear us? Okay. All right. Well, with that, let me go ahead and introduce our panel of speakers tonight. We have a group of speakers from the city of Phoenix, and I will ask them to introduce themselves in the name that they're in the order that their name shows. And also we have two representatives, one from our consultant and one from Salt River Project. Please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brianna Velez, and I'm the Assistant Street Transportation Director.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Mark Locke. I'm the Deputy Street Transportation Director. My team is the one that is presenting the project tonight. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Mario Brown, and I'm a Special Projects Administrator with the Street Transportation Department, and I'll be assisting the project team.
Hello, Chris Maddow. I'm a civil engineer with the Street Transportation Department, and I am the project manager on this project and will be presenting to you tonight.
Thanks, Chris. Good evening, everyone. My name is Todd Sensimino. I'm with Wilson & Company. We are the design consultant for the project for the city.
Good evening, Brianna McHenry. I am the project manager from SRP side for the project.
Thank you so much. Chris, if you could just put your presentation into presentation mode, we're seeing your upcoming slides. But from that, I'd like to introduce Brianna Velez to say a few words about this project for and what it means to the city of Phoenix and to the community. Go ahead.
Thank you, Heather. Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to be here tonight with all of you to provide an update on this very important project. We have seen a lot of success with our very first canal improvement project along the Grand Canal, and we anticipate the same success with the Western Canal project. You know, public input is so important to the success of our projects, so we appreciate you guys taking the time out of your busy days to participate with us tonight and provide us feedback. You know, the team has been hard at work to progress the design of this project and are here to provide you an update on the design. You know, when we think about these canal improvement projects, they are not only creating, you know, a contiguous and safe route for recreational use, but are really creating another transportation option for commuters as well. So with that, we are very excited about this project and excited to present an update of, you know, all the great work that has been happening since the last public meeting. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Chris Mono, our project manager, to provide an update.
Thank you, Brianna. As mentioned before, I'm Chris Mano, the project manager for this project, and I'm going to start off with the agenda for tonight's meeting. I'm going to be going over the project overview, talk about the purpose and benefits of the project, talk a little bit about the connectivity opportunities throughout this project, give you an update on the project schedule, and at the end of the presentation, we'll open it up for questions, and myself and the panel will be happy to answer any questions that you might have on this project. As I go through the presentation, you're also going to see some images on the screen with some exhibits or photos. I'm going to try to talk a little bit of why we picked to show those and what kind of we're displaying. So on the agenda slide tonight is just an overview of the Grand Canalscape project that we finished within the city of Phoenix in 2020 to kind of give you a sample of what we hope to accomplish as part of this project along the Western Canal. So kind of what you're looking at is the Grand Canal in the center of the photo, and the left-hand side of the screen shows what the improvements were, where we added the 10-foot multi-use path, some landscaping and pedestrian lighting along the corridor, and on the right-hand side of the screen is the unimproved section, so you can see kind of the contrast and what this project hopes to bring to the canal. Okay, I'm going to start off with the project overview. This is a great partnership between Salt River Project, or SRP, and the City of Phoenix. The project is possible mainly due to Salt River Project, who owns the canal, and so they have the land and they have a program that offers up aesthetic funding to cities and municipalities like the City of Phoenix. So we are eager to take advantage of that program and beautify the canal. So SRP has the land and they have the funding to do it, to help fund the project. And the City of Phoenix is going to take that and actually design the project and construct the project. And lastly, we're going to maintain the project in the future to make sure that this amenity is in place for a long time. So just to kind of with that partnership and how this project is going to go, SRP uses one side of the canal. In this case, along the Western Canal, they're going to use the north bank for their day-to-day and major operations and maintenance through the canal. So we're going to have that separation of heavy vehicles and activity from SRP, and we're going to put the pedestrians and the cyclists as part of this project on the south bank of the canal. But they still need access to that south bank in the case of an emergency, or if they can't access it from the north side, or if they need to access it from both sides simultaneously. So as part of that partnership, we just have to make sure we follow the guidelines that they have within their right of way. So part of that is they'll allow us to build a 10-foot wide multi-use path that'll be able to transport both pedestrians and cyclists throughout the corridor. We're going to build that 10-foot wide concrete path within their 20-foot minimum usable bank space that's next to the canal. So everything within 20 feet, they just don't want us putting anything vertical in that area so that they can have their trucks and maintenance vehicles use this area. And then anything outside of that 20-foot area along the canal, things like pedestrian lighting, landscaping, trash receptacles, seating areas, anything to that nature that's vertical, They just asked that that be outside of that 20-foot zone. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the opportunities and kind of what we have planned within this corridor, but this is kind of just a to outline the partnership and how this project is going to be possible. So continuing with the project overview, we got the partnership, and now I want to talk about kind of where are we building. We're going to be building along the Western Canal between 4th Avenue on the western end of the project and 24th Street on the eastern end of the project. And our new pathway to match that typical cross section that I had in the last slide will be all on the south bank of the canal in this area. The canal runs mostly west to east. It does have a little bit of a skew in it, and I'll show you on the map in an upcoming slide a little bit better picture of where this falls within the city of Phoenix. But that is the project limits between 4th Avenue and 24th Street. I have a couple photos up, basically a before and after of what we hope to accomplish. The left-hand photograph is a before shot along the Western Canal. This is what it looks like today. It has a dirt and kind of gravelly type surface. It meets the needs for SRP to use this on a day-to-day basis. It does provide an area for recreation for members of the community to use this today, but the goal is to provide a nice smooth concrete surface that everyone's able to use and able to use the facility for longer periods of travel. So basically the left is the before shot and the right is what we hope to build at the end of the project by installing the 10-foot wide concrete pathway that you see kind of on the left-hand side of your photo. You have some decomposed granite and some landscaping off to the side where we have the space to do that. And then we also have some pedestrian lighting throughout the corridor. The kind of the note, and we talked about some areas of opportunity and maybe some constraints. One thing we wanted to kind of point out that along the Western Canal, we do have some kind of walls, some commercial walls and residential walls and fences that are a little bit closer to the canal. So adding all of the landscaping and trees and similar features of as other Canalscape projects may be a little bit difficult in some of the areas. Okay, so now we have our 10-foot wide concrete path, multi-use path. We have kind of our pedestrian lighting. We have our landscaping where possible. And now I'm going to kind of drop that into the map to kind of give you a better picture of how big this project is. It's about 2.75, 2.8 miles long. It extends from 4th Avenue here. I'm looking at the aerial map here on the right-hand side of your screen. The west end of the project starts at 4th Avenue and it continues all the way to the right-hand side of your screen, or the eastern end at 24th Street. So the Western Canal, it lies just north of Baseline Road. It's south of Southern Avenue. And you can see that it mostly runs east to west, but it does start to skew a little bit, running a little more north and south at the west end of the project. So now that we have our nice smooth pathway, continuous pathway here, we are going to encounter some major streets along the path, and we've figured out basically how to keep that continuity and provide some safe crossings at each of these locations. So I'm going to kind of list of what the new traffic signals that we will be installing as part of this project, and I'm just going to lay them out from west to east. So starting on the west side at 4th Avenue and Baseline Road, we're going to be installing a new traffic signal at this location. Number 2 is Central Avenue. We will actually not be installing anything on this location at Central Avenue. And as most of you know, we have the light rail South Central Phoenix extension project coming in that's currently under construction. We are going to be coordinating with that project, and our project will just tie right into theirs. So the light rail project is actually going to be doing all the improvements at this crossing at Central Avenue. The third crossing is at Jesse Owens Parkway. We will be installing a HAWK traffic signal. The HAWK is kind of an acronym that we use. It stands for High Intensity Activated Crosswalk. What it is an opportunity for a pedestrian or a cyclist to come approach the intersection. They'll be able to push a push button that'll be on the traffic signal pole. I have a photo of one of these, one of the HAWK signals, if you're in the vehicle looking at the signal. On the bottom left-hand side of your screen. So the pedestrian will be able to push the button. It will stop the vehicle traffic. and the pedestrian or the cyclist can make that safe crossing. And then after the crosswalk is cleared, the vehicle traffic will be able to move freely again. So this will be installed at Jesse Owens Parkway and a few other crossings that I'm going to touch upon here in a minute. So 7th Street will be another Hawk signal crossing. 10th Street, we have something a little bit different at this. We're going to be installing a circular rapid flashing beacon. This is very similar to a Hawk signal. The difference would be is that when the pedestrian or the cyclist pushes the button, it won't stop the vehicle traffic. It's just going to flash and warn the vehicles that there is someone using the crosswalk and tell them that caution ahead. The reason that we've picked this traffic signal feature is due to the short length of the crosswalk. There's a lower vehicle speed in this area, and there's a reduced traffic volume that all kind of weighed into the decision to install a circular rapid flashing beacon at this location. And the 6th location is at 16th Street. This will be the final installation of a traffic signal device, and this will be another Hawk signal. The end of the project is at 24th Street. We are not going to be installing a new traffic signal at this location. There is an existing crossing just to the south of our canal path that we will be directing pedestrians to utilize. And it's located right now, it's active right now. It's between the Western Canal and Baseline Road here at the eastern end of the project. A few other things to note while I have the map pulled up and kind of tying into this project there's several points of interest throughout the area. There's some that are directly adjacent to the path and will actually have a connection or a gate right up to the new path. Some of them are just close in proximity, maybe a half-mile, mile away. We've highlighted some of them on the screen. We know that this isn't all-inclusive to every amenity in the area, but we just highlighted some of the neighborhood parks, the public transit. We've indicated some churches, aquatic centers, community centers. The list goes on and on of benefits to this community, and I'm going to kind of highlight how we're going to provide that connectivity to most of these facilities coming up here. Okay, so a little more of the purpose and benefits. Again, why are we building the project? Kind of what's the major benefit? So the main thing is the safe route for pedestrians and bicycle traffic. This is a great opportunity, as Brianna had mentioned, that it's a way to bring pedestrians and cyclists away from the major arterial roadways, to give them something aesthetically pleasing to kind of to look at and utilize, and we hope that'll encourage people to use this facility on a daily basis or in their regular routine. So we feel that this is a great opportunity to get them away from the arterial streets where you might have higher vehicle traffic, more driveway conflicts, things like that, where this is more of a low stress corridor that we're going to be providing in this area. It's going to have those upgraded safe street crossings. So I have a photo here on the right-hand side of your screen, which is another example of one of those Hawk crossings that I kind of talked about. This is actually the perspective of if you were on the pathway, what you would see when you're coming up to a roadway. This was a Hawk that we installed as part of the Grand Canalscape project. So again, very similar in nature that we did on another Canalscape project within the city of Phoenix. And this just kind of shows that you would approach the intersection here and you would be able to push a push button on the left-hand side of your screen attached to this traffic signal pole. You would wait for the light to let you know it's safe to cross. The vehicles would be stopped, and then you would be able to continue on this canal path. And like I said, it's almost 3 miles in length. So this is kind of another shot to kind of show you how this is going to work and provide that safe street crossing. The last kind of purpose benefit that I want to touch upon is that connectivity. You know, there's neighborhoods, jobs, schools, churches, public transit. The list goes on and on of what's in and around this neighborhood and how different people are going to utilize this area. So we wanted to highlight that tonight, is to provide that a great benefit to this is through the connectivity of this pathway into neighborhoods and other amenities in the community. Just another photo here on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, if you're following along, is again just a completed project. This was again our Grand Canalscape project that we finished in 2020. Just showing a user of the path, in this case they're jogging or walking the dog. Again, just shows you kind of what the nature of the project is and kind of where we were able to provide some of that landscaping, and you can see some of the utilities in the area, and it's, you know, there's still stuff going on in this corridor, but it's just kind of another example of what we hope to provide as part of this project. Okay, so I got another map here on the screen here. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the areas of connectivity here and kind of bring back the public input opportunity that we had at our last public meeting. So back in January, hopefully all of you were able to attend that last meeting, our first public meeting back in January, where we had laid out a map very similar to this one on the screen here. We had identified 3 locations where we had asked for potential areas of putting in a new pedestrian bridge. So we felt like this project could incorporate a pedestrian bridge, but we wanted that input to see, does the community want one, and where do they want one, and where is it going to work from an engineering standpoint too. Kind of, we wanted to weigh all those factors in and try to get a pedestrian bridge in this location to enhance that connectivity. So we had said, you know, we had mentioned 3 areas. The first one, A, kind of the west end of the project near 4th Avenue and Central Avenue was one area we identified. The second area was B, in the center of your map here. It's right near 13th Street. And then C was near 20th Street, where those were the 3 locations that we outlined. And through using the public input, we had decided to move forward with installing a pedestrian bridge at location B near 13th Street. Now, I still want to highlight areas A and C, kind of in the east and the west end of the projects, to say is that even though we can't install a pedestrian bridge at these locations, there's still a great area of connectivity and opportunity at those locations. So A, I'm going to identify that's where kind of the light rail is coming in, and Valley Metro is going to be building a new park and ride, and there's just a bunch of connection points in this area. We have bus stops that run up and down Baseline Road. So it's still a great area of connectivity to that public transit network. B is where we're going to put the pedestrian bridge. I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then C is the 20th Street connection, where we have an existing 20th Street. It dead ends, or it's a cul-de-sac right now south of the canal. Even though that we're not putting a pedestrian bridge to make that crossing in this area, we do feel like there's still a great opportunity for connection in this area that I'll show you coming up in a few slides. And then another factor here was we do have an existing pedestrian bridge, actually a little bit closer to 24th Street, just south of South Mountain Community College. So the close proximity of that existing bridge, we felt, again, it was probably best to move forward with the 13th Street location. So again, the map just kind of shows where the canal project is, some of those points of interest along the way, and kind of I'm going to talk about 3 areas of connectivity here in the next couple slides. And before I move on, I do have another photo here showing a pedestrian bridge that we installed as part of the Grand Canalscape project. So the bridge that we're going to do as part of the Western Canal is hopefully going to match this pretty closely as part of the aesthetics and constructability and things like that. Okay, so the light rail connection, and again, hopefully many of you are aware that we do have this project going on right now. There's some utility work and construction going on. It's a very large project, but it is going to be constructed at Central Avenue. They're going to have a new station constructed there, a new hawk crossing that they're going to build, and we're just going to tie right into that. And as part of that station down there, Valley Metro is also moving forward with they've acquired a property, and they're going to be building a new park and ride facility that'll bring people close to the canal, light rail. You can kind of move around very, very easily down in the western end of the project near 4th Avenue and Central Avenue. The pedestrian bridge, I kind of talked about, what maybe this bridge might look like here. we just have some photos of what a typical bridge or what this bridge is going to end up looking like. We're still in the design phases and working out some of those design details. But in the end, kind of your color scheme, what it's going to look like aesthetically, this is going to be pretty close to what we end up doing across this canal. And we're just going to make sure it meets all of the SRP design guidelines, and they can still maintain their canal and things like that. So this is just a quick shot to show what the bridge may look like. Again, the bridge location is going to be 13th Street. There's a bunch of established neighborhoods at this 13th Street location to the north. We hope to bring those communities down into the canal with this easy crossing, get right on the pathway and start to use the facility. And we also know that there's new development going on in this area as well. So it's as soon as that's done, our project should hopefully be done. It should be a great opportunity to bring people north of the canal to use this pedestrian bridge to get onto the pathway without having to travel all the way over to 10th Street or all the way over to 16th Street. And again, keep that low stress amenity here. Okay. The area C was the 20th Street connection, the last point of connectivity that I kind of wanted to mention of, even though we're not going to move forward with the new pedestrian bridge at this location, we feel like the connectivity here is a good opportunity because we actually have a small pocket of right-of-way, of City of Phoenix right-of-way that we can use to kind of enhance that connection. So kind of the screen and what you're looking at is the cul-de-sac for 20th Street right in the center of your screen. It's going to be south of the Western Canal, which is running right through the middle of your screen. And then you have these pockets of right-of-way to the east and to the west of this roadway. So right now it's kind of, there's some vegetation going on in this area. It's not utilized very well aesthetically, but we do have existing utilities, which is why the right-of-way is there. So we have some sewer lines, it looks like underground. We have some overhead power lines coming in over top. So, but it still provides an area where we can get some sort of aesthetic upgrade in this area. And that's why we wanted to highlight how we were able to upgrade this area and still provide a connection without that pedestrian bridge. So what we're going to hope to do is, this is just like a little design rendering right now of our design concept as we have it. We noticed that there's an existing path kind of carved out in the vegetation where we can see people are using this as a connection. We know people are coming on up to the canal and off of the canal. They're walking kind of these lines from the roadway up to the canal. And we just basically felt there's no better spot to put our new sidewalk as to right where the people are currently using it today. We're going to be basically bringing them from the street level up through a ADA compatible sidewalk here, and then up to the canal and the pathway. And the pathway is just going to be on that south bank of the canal. As I mentioned, we're going to enhance the landscaping down in this area, in this right-of-way area that's City of Phoenix right now. And then we're also, some things to note, just from this path or small section of the project, you can see here that we do have some light posts here, and hopefully you guys can follow along, but we have some light posts here that'll be spaced regularly throughout the path to provide that pathway access. We want people using this all hours of the day, all days of the year. We know it gets hot here in the summer, and people may just use this at nighttime. So we're going to provide that lighting along the whole corridor here. And this is kind of what it'll look like, where it's going to be spaced pretty regularly, and then kind of intermixed with some of that landscaping where we can. So this is just kind of in a nutshell, again, of that connection point that people coming from Baseline Road, which is just to the south of here, are going to be able to make their way right up 20th Street, go right to the canal, or again, if you want to get to Baseline Road from the canal, you can make that connection point. All right, and then the kind of, to wrap it up, the updated project schedule that we have for this, we first met back in January of 2021, where we had provided the first public meeting, which was still virtual. We're here tonight, October 5th, 2021. This will be our second public meeting for this project. We hope to complete design in early 22. We're still coordinating with some of those other projects and developments along this corridor. Again, it being 3 miles long, we're just trying to make sure that we do a thorough design. As soon as that design is complete, we're going to basically present our final public meeting on the project sometime in the spring of 22. We hope to show you a little bit more of the renderings or design features that we were able to work out as part of this project and provide you that final product, and basically tell you that hopefully the construction is going to be coming in the summer of 22. So this is the updated project schedule right now, and leading into my last slide here, we're going to keep the schedule as up to date as we can on the project website. So we do have a project website. It's at Phoenix.gov/streets/Western Canalscape. That'll be on this slide posted if you want to write that down, or it'll be posted on the next slide. So visit the website, sign up for project updates. When we get our next public meeting, you'll be notified, or if there's any major updates to the project, we do send those notifications out to people who sign up, or if you just want to check in on the project, see how we're doing, we do update that project website regularly. And then the last photograph here on the slide, it looks like just 3 happy users of this new multi-use path. Again, just a great opportunity for me to show you what we hope to accomplish as part of this Western Canalscape project, where we have our 10-foot wide concrete path. We have our new decomposed granite and vegetation and landscaping where we can, kind of behind the pathway, and then our new pedestrian lighting throughout the whole project. So with that, I will throw it back over to Heather and open it up for questions.
Okay, thank you everyone, and thank you Chris for a great presentation. We do have a public input survey for this project, and it is live on our website for you to click over to. In fact, we make it really easy. When this session ends, you'll be given an opportunity to open up the project website, and then you can complete the survey. Early on, I mentioned that we have the chat box where you can enter in any questions. There's also a raise hand feature, and I'd like to let everyone know that they can click on their name to raise a virtual little hand icon, and then I can call on you from there and unmute you if you have a question that you would like to ask over the audio system for our meeting tonight. And before we go too far, let me ask Mr. Albert Granillo if you have any questions on the Spanish language line. Albert?
Thank you, Heather. I have no questions at this moment.
Okay, send me a note or put something in the chat if you do have a question. Chris, I know one of the questions that we've gotten over this project is a question about lighting, and will there be pedestrian or some kind of lighting for the whole stretch of the project? Can you answer that for us?
Certainly. Yeah, so sticking with the same photograph that we have on the screen, we will have pedestrian lighting throughout the whole corridor. And as you can see here, we have lighting kind of adjacent to the path. So some of the sizes or the spacing may vary. So, you know, where we can, we like them a little bit taller to kind of spread out that light over the pathway, and some of them might be a little bit shorter due to some of the conflicts, but we will make sure that we have lighting throughout this whole corridor. The new traffic signals will have their own lighting, and make sure that those crosswalks are well lit throughout the whole project.
And then, of course, another question that we get a lot is, what about trash containers or pet waste containers? Is that part of this project as well?
Yes. So we're still working on locations for most of the seating areas, the trash receptacles, and the pet waste stations, but we are going to make sure that we get those into this project where we can and where it meets those SRP guidelines that we talked about. But we will make sure that we have enough trash cans and pet waste stations that will accommodate all the users of the path, and the City of Phoenix can maintain those areas.
And another question is, let's see, how often will the trash be picked up, or will the landscape be maintained?
I'm going to maybe ask Mark if you had any clarification on the maintenance on the canals.
Yeah, thank you, Chris, and a great question. Yeah, in the other sections of the canal that we have, the trash containers are picked up every week, and if it needs to be done more often, we just kind of regulate, see how that first go around as far as the trash pickup, and if we need to do it more often, we will definitely do it at that point too. But once a week right now.
Thank you, Mark. We have a new question here. Are you planting to use and other materials instead of crushed granite be used to help reduce the heat island effect?
I missed the beginning of that, Heather.
The beginning was, I'm sorry, are you planting trees, or are there other materials you can use instead of crushed granite to help reduce the heat island effect?
Thank you for that question. So yes, we will be planting trees throughout this quarter where we can. We do have to be outside of that 20-foot zone that SRP needs to maintain the canal. So anywhere where we have an opportunity to install trees outside of that 20-foot zone, we will look to do. One of the areas that we're going to focus on is the area at 20th Street that I showed a couple slides back, where we have some ample right-of-way to do that, and it's far enough away from the canal, so we are going to look to update that, provide a little bit of shade in those areas to do that. So there's a lot of overhead utilities, there's a lot of underground utilities, so unfortunately we may not be able to plant trees along the whole project, but where we can, we are going to make an effort to plant those trees. And then as far as the granite goes, mainly we're just going to use the decomposed granite right now on this project. So if there are other materials out there that will provide that ground covering and dust control that will reduce the heat island, it's not going to be evaluated as part of this project, but it's a great comment, and we can look to use that in the future if it meets the needs of both SRP and the City of Phoenix in this area.
Thank you, Chris. The same person is definitely in tune with her city contacts, because this person has indicated that we are working with light reflective surface coatings, and that's the asphalt product that we're using for cool pavement. And the question is there any thought of using that on these concrete surfaces? And I think what I understood.
Go ahead, Heather.
We had a lot of people on the Cool Pavement project wanting to get the product and use it on their driveways and their back patios and such. And the product that is being used right now by the City of Phoenix is a product that bonds to asphalt. But I suppose if something came out that bonded to concrete, I don't know.
Yeah, so thank you for the comment, and it's something that we can explore, because putting that reflective coating would not impact the integrity of the pathway to the point where you have the heavy loads on it. And at that point, we can look at it to see if it is viable from a cost perspective or a benefit to that. So if we're able to put some of these beneficial materials down as part of this project and still meet the requirements, we're always on board to explore those opportunities. So I appreciate those comments and thoughts.
I don't have any other questions in the chat box, and I have a shy group here today. I don't see anybody with their hands raised, but you do have that option if anybody would like to punch in a question. We are here for you, and again, As I stated at the beginning, we are planning to record this. It is being recorded. It will be downloaded and posted to the project website, which you see on your screen there, where you will also find the project survey. Okay, we have a thank you for the presentation. If we don't have any more comments or questions coming into the chat box in the next minute or two, we can go ahead and begin our wrap-ups. But since we do have a representative from SRP here, Brianna, I don't want to necessarily put you on the spot, but if you had any comments about SRP's project with Grand Canal or this particular project, I welcome you to make have a comment now.
No, this is great. This is very exciting. We are looking forward to working with the City of Phoenix in getting the Western Canalscape basically designed and constructed. So we're looking forward to it.
And we do have a new question, Chris. How long will construction take from beginning to end?
For most of it, hopefully we can be, we're kind of off the major roadways. Most of this, I would imagine, taking about 9 months to a year to kind of do most of the improvements. Where it's going to be a little tricky is probably around the light rail and what we can and can't do, and we want to make sure that we're not doing rework. So we're going to probably let light rail do their thing. So maybe we can hope to build most of it, but if light rail wasn't there and maybe some of the other developments weren't kind of slowing us down, I would anticipate this taking around probably in the 9 month, maybe up to a year to complete the whole project and all of the roadway crossings, the concrete, the lighting, things like that. So it's a lot of coordination. So it might take us a little bit longer to make sure that we're getting it done right the first time.
And Chris, will the project construction begin at one end and then end at another end, or will it depend on what else is happening through the corridor?
Ideally, we would love to move from one end to the other, and people can anticipate our movements. But for the most part, the contractor will have the ability to set their schedule, how they can be most productive to build this, and that will actually come down to kind of coordination, mainly around the light rail and getting around there. So I would imagine the eastern end of the project, east of Central Avenue, to be done for the most part up front, and then kind of in and around light rail might be done at the end, or we may have an opportunity to build our project. So we'd like to build it linearly from one end to the other, but I don't know the answer to that at this time.
Well, maybe when we come back for the pre-construction public engagement session, we'll have a little bit better idea of how that proceeds. And of course, we have to work around SRP's operational needs as well. But that we'll save that question and be sure to answer it when we come back in the springtime for our next engagement.
Okay.
All right, once again, I'm checking. I don't see any hands raised, and we did get those where will the project start and when will it start? So with that,
and just to kind of highlight on that, Heather, before we go past that. So, whether we go from one end to the other, no matter what the phasing of the project is, we will make sure that we give as much, notice as we can to the community, and make sure that the community is aware of what our strategy is, and that will come very close to construction time. Unfortunately, we won't have too much warning, but as soon as we get that plan, we will make sure that we notify the neighborhood and let them know when we're coming and hopefully how long we're going to be there. So we will make sure we notify as we're going in construction.
Great clarification. Thank you so much, Chris. With that, Brianna, let me turn it over to you for some closing remarks. And then again, everyone, I encourage you to take a look at the website and take a few minutes and answer the survey questions. And please definitely share this with your friends and neighbors so that they have an opportunity to offer their input as well.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you, Chris, for the wonderful presentation. I hope you guys have been able to see tonight that the project team is really, really excited about creating this wonderful amenity for the community. Hopefully you guys are excited too. Like Heather mentioned, public input is so critical, so please take the survey. We want to hear from you. If you have any ideas right now, well, we are still somewhere in the middle range of design, we'd love to hear from you. And so I just appreciate you guys taking time out of your evening to participate this evening and hear about this project. And we look forward to seeing you in the spring, where we will provide an update on the final design and the construction schedule. So thank you, everyone.
Just one final little note of housekeeping. At the end of this meeting, you'll see the screen that asks you if you'd like to be redirected to the project page. You also may get a screen that says, take our survey. That survey would be from WebEx. We would not get any input from you. If you do answer that survey, it's really more about the quality of tonight's video conference. So definitely, if you're interested in taking the survey, take the one that's on the Western Canalscape Phoenix.gov website, which you should be seeing. And we thank you once again for attending tonight, and have a good evening, have a safe evening, and we will see you again in the spring.